Hello there, and welcome back to Tranquility du Jour, nourishing conversations about living a full and meaningful life with doses of tranquility. This is episode 530. I'm your host, Kimberly Wilson, bringing you tranquility through this podcast since 2005. Today we're talking about one of our absolute favorite podcast topics, or really Tranquility du Jour topics, which is all about planning. So in today's episode, I've got lots to share, as always, when it comes to planning. So I'm going to talk about how to set your week up for success, basically, and just sharing how I do it. Now, of course, this isn't, going to work for everyone in the exact same way, but I wanted to give you a sneak peek into how I set up my week and how I do my planning in case it's helpful for you. Learn about how to set those MITs, which are most important tasks, ways to incorporate healthy habit checklists and wellness planning, plus tips to organize your day. So I hope you're as excited as I am about this episode. Okay, there is so much to talk about here. So I am going to try to keep it somewhat concise and succinct. And then, of course, I will add on to this in the future because I could talk about this topic for hours. And I think you probably have other things to do. So one thing I want to mention before I dive in are a few upcoming events. First of all, the TDJ Live Masterclass is happening on Sunday, March 21st. So this is our seasonal free 1-hour offering that I love doing. And it wouldn't be the same without you. So be sure to sign up for that. There's a link in the show notes, which you can find at kimberlywilson.com/530. Also, sign up and join us for the March 27th TDJ Style Pop-Up. Again, this is free. And I'm going to invite you into my living room to take you through the process of setting up a capsule wardrobe and ways to mix and match TDJ, my locally sewn eco-friendly clothing line. And you're also going to hear from some TDJ aficionados about their experience with the clothing line and the ways they like to wear it. And then last but not least, April 3rd is our spring virtual retreat. So this is a half-day experience and would love to have you with us. These are really, truly, they're transformational. And I don't say that lightly. So would love to have you in the mix. So to do this episode, what I wanted to do is pull out my Daybook and kind of walk you through my process and my sort of way to set up the week. Okay, so what you'll notice, there's a downloadable PDF for you in the show notes, which again are at kimberlywilson.com/530. And it shows you like a weekly guide to setting your week up for productivity and tranquility. So one of the first things I like to do is set an intention for the week. So what is it that sometimes it's survival, right? If there's like a super full week ahead. Other times it's like mindfulness or creativity or productivity, right? So my intentions vary week to week, and that's just a great way to get clear on, okay, week ahead, what is it that I want to keep in mind and stay conscious of? The other thing that I have in the Daybook, and it might be helpful for you, is a weekly and a daily checklist. So thinking about what are those things that every week you want to make sure that you're doing to help you stay productive in whatever that might mean for you and tranquil, right? So tranquil is this idea of living a full and meaningful life with doses of tranquility, right? So it's not necessarily just like the quality of calm, which is how it's defined. For me, I like to think of it as like, okay, I've got a full active existence trying to make a difference, trying to spread tranquility. So the quality of calm is there, or we're seeking it, right? But in a full and meaningful life. So, for you, as you kind of think about what would be on your weekly checklist to have this quality of calm in a full and meaningful life. So my weekly checklist includes 8 items. planning my week's MITs, which I'll talk about in a moment, soaking in the tub, which pretty much happens like every day. But this is also just a decadent experience, I think, for some people to actually have that 20 to 30 minutes to just soak. I find it really to be like a beautiful dose of therapy. Taking a digital day off. So it might be more for you, and it is for me more these days, to actually digital hours off. So it's just some times where I just set my phone aside. I'm not online. I'm not connected to the internet. I'm reading or I'm doing something else that is not about like sitting in front of the computer or on Zoom or scrolling through the phone. Clearing clutter. So it's funny, I say that as I look around, and on my desk, I have piles of books and a bunch of flowers because I just can't stop buying flowers right now. They make such a difference, and a lot of paperwork and many, many pins. So, what helps me is at the beginning of the week is just to kind of pull it all together. Sometimes it just becomes more piles, but I stack them and I try to create a sense of spaciousness by clearing the clutter. Pinning a love note. So this could be digital, but it's also really lovely to send a little dose of love out to someone who could use it. And let's be honest, we could all probably use a little of it right now. I went to the mailbox last night and I had 3 love notes, 2 postcards and 1 letter form, little card. And it was just like, it made me so happy to pull out among, the nonsense kind of that comes in the mail to find like 3 handwritten items. Such a delight. Buy or pick fresh flowers. I find that to be so helpful. And it's amazing what you can pick up for like $5 at the local grocery store or farmer's market. Taking an artist date. So this is just something that you're going to do that is a way to nourish your creative spirit. And that could be watching a, virtual tour of the Louvre, or going for a nice long walk, or a nice long bike ride, or anything that you feel, or pulling out your ephemera and your art journal and some pens and just going to town. So anything that you feel like is going to nurture that part of yourself. And then finally, I have your savor a green juice. I mean, ideally, we're doing something like this every day. But, it could be green juice, a green smoothie. I've been doing a lot of these tablets by 8 Greens, which has all these amazing greens. And you put a little tablet in your water and voila. I start every day with it. And honestly, it's like one of my favorite things in the morning. So this is my kind of overall weekly checklist. So for you, thinking about what would be some healthy habits that you'd like to have on your weekly checklist. Okay, next I move down to the MITs, and these are our most important tasks. So what I mean by that is, you probably will look at your to-do list and you may have 10, 20, 50 items on there. Okay, we can't get all those done in a week. And if you can, you're really, really impressive, and I'd love to know your secret. But the idea is really, what are your 3 to 5 main things that you need to do this week? So for example, I'm looking at what I had for last week. It was workbooks. So I'm creating workbooks for these 3 upcoming events. Homework to Jamie, who is my writing coach, and then March podcasts, which I'm doing now, right? So these are my most important tasks to get accomplished that week. So for you, what are they? What if you got to the end of the week, would you be like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I finally sent that email, or I finally handled this project, or I finally, pulled the weeds in the garden. I mean, whatever it might be. Okay, next is wellness planning. And you'll see in the PDF, the little handout that comes with this podcast, I have it laid out Monday through Sunday. Now, in wellness planning, what you can do, I tend to do is I go through and I write when I'm going to be dancing or doing yoga. So like say most Mondays is yoga and ballet. Tuesday ballet, Wednesday ballet, Thursday ballet, Friday ballet, Saturday and Sunday ballet. So that's what I'll tend to write out. What you could even do is like a little bit of meal planning if that resonated, or how much water you drank, or how you slept. So anything that would just help you stay conscious of and aware of your overarching wellness. All right, the next one I want to mention, and I have it as number 7 on the PDF, is these are your weekly appointments, your day's appointments, really. So, the times that you're doing your yoga or your ballet, or you're going to a doctor's appointment, or you're meeting with clients, or you are setting aside time to read or do an artist date or commute. I mean, whatever it is. So that's where your appointments go. And I think it's really important to get those blocked out every week so that you know, where do I have spaciousness to do other things? Now, what I have is number 8. This is for the day's to-dos, right? So, to-dos and kind of projects, I feel like, are a little different. Now, granted, projects contain to-dos, but what I tend to do is under the appointments is I'll put, okay, here are the things I want to get done this day, right? So very specific to the day. Whereas if you go down to the next category that I like to look at is projects. So my projects for the week. And these are always the same headings. So I have them for Tranquility du Jour, which is like the podcast, the blog, the clothing line, things along those lines. I've got it for the nonprofit. I have it for me personally. And then I have it also, and included kind of in my personals, also for my therapy. So that helps. Like I'm looking right now. So one of the things that was on my list for last week from a project perspective was to do a Life Lately podcast and blog. Okay, so that's something that I'm pushing into later March, but that's something that fell under TDJ. Now, also with the clothing line, I have like to organize my TDJ to-dos. It's one of the things there. For Pigs and Puds Project annual report. And for me, kind of personally, and also what falls under kind of therapy is, preparing for an all-day workshop that I took on Sunday. And then also, let's see, what else is there? E-courses that I've signed up to actually go through and work on those. So those are some examples of kind of projects, whereas to-dos are more like, last Tuesday was send love note. Last Monday was do a blog post regarding journal writing. Last Thursday was reply to Janice, right? So those are very specific and kind of smaller things, whereas my larger kind of projecty things or to-dos for projects fall under these headers below that are not specific to that particular day. Again, I find that to be really helpful because otherwise we're like, oh my God, I have 50 to-dos and where do I do these? When do I do these? And then it leads to paralyzation. At least I will say it does for me. And so being able to lay it out in this way, super duper helpful. The next thing I like to do just to make sure from a healthy habits perspective that I have a daily checklist, and I'll go through these. And of course, they may be different for you. So thinking about what are your things every day that you do that contributes to tranquility. Could be taking your vitamins, right? I mean, it could be, checking in with your mother, whatever it is. Okay, so my daily checklist, I've got morning ritual, which again may contain, that might be taking your daily supplements, having your hot water with lemon, doing some yoga stretching, whatever. So morning ritual, something that you do every morning that is nourishing. It could be 1 minute. Okay, this does not have to be something that is profound or long, but it is, I think, a really important piece. The second one is daily dress up, which these days I think we're living a lot of loungewear and activewear, which is great. I basically have lived in that for 20 years, having spent so much time in the yoga world, and then even now as a therapist, I tend to wear a lot of loungewear, and then I just will add like blazers or long skirts or short skirts over kind of my typical uniform, which I talked about in the last podcast I shared with you, episode number 28. So the importance of daily dress up is just pulling yourself together in a way that you feel good, right? You feel like you are ready to present yourself to the world. And I think with Zoom these days, those of you who are on video, it helps because people are going to be seeing you. So you're like, all right, I do need to brush my hair, or put on some lipstick or some mascara, or, put a scarf around my neck, whatever it is, it will just help us feel more pulled together. And I do think there's a big relationship between mood and fashion. There's this woman who wrote a book, I think it's called The Psychology of Fashion. And she said that mood and our clothing are very interrelated. I mean, just think about it. Whenever you wear something that like feels good versus like whenever you wear something that's too tight or itchy and, just like, or that you just don't feel good in, what a difference it makes. Next is mindful movement. Moving your body every single day in some way, right? So for me, it's been a lot of ballet. It's definitely been a lot of yoga over the years. It's walking, it's biking. So what are your go-tos? And making sure, like ideally, like I got an Apple Watch for Christmas, and really it's just a fancy Fitbit. I only use it for like tracking all this stuff. But it's great because I'm like, okay, my goal is to get 60 minutes of exercise, and it lets me know when my ring is closed, and it's like oddly really satisfying. Okay, number 4 is eat your veggies. Now, you may actually drink your veggies, and that's okay too. So just making sure that you're getting a lot of color, ideally, into your diet. And I know this can be hard, and this comes from somebody who loves a lot of pizza. So it's one of those things where I have to really make an effort. Some of you may just always kind of be drawn to healthier foods, healthier whole foods. For others, you have to really kind of make an effort to buy that arugula, buy those cherry tomatoes. This is, again, all me speaking from experience here. Buy those blueberries and the walnuts and create a daily salad. So what is it that would allow you to make sure you're eating your veggies and or drinking? A journal. So spend a little bit of time in reflection. This is really important for me for healthy, kind of feeling healthy on a regular basis. Even if it's just a few minutes of like, today I noticed ... And I also did a blog post last week, which was, I think on February 23rd, you'll find a blog post about journal writing that also had some really fun prompts. Goal review is my next kind of daily checklist piece. And that means just kind of looking through to be like, all right, what are my goals for this week? What are my MITs? What were my monthly goals? How are those unfolding? And welcome, by the way, to a brand new month and Women's History Month. And so what I like to do at the beginning of every month is create my month's dreams. And I will, of course, be doing a blog post about this because I love to share this and I welcome your input on it. But I will do a review of the month before, the dreams for the new month. I also share savvy sources. So these are just a bunch of resources I come across that I think you may enjoy. And then I also have just started pulling together kind of like a wrap up of what podcasts and blog posts I did that month so that it's all in one spot and really easy for you to access. Gratitude. I think, we can focus just naturally. This is how we're wired, but we notice what's wrong versus what's right. So gratitude kind of enforces that desire or that need to really pay attention to, okay, what is working here? What went well? What am I grateful for? And then last but not least is your evening ritual. So how do you want to close out the day? Do you want to take your phone to bed and scroll into the wee hours? Or do you feel like, I'm going to charge my phone in the other room and then I am going to read for a few hours or read for 5 minutes and then lights out, or have a cup of chamomile tea, or soak in the tub, or spend time with loved ones, or, whatever it might be. How do you want to conclude your day? What works for you? What works for your family, if you have others that you live with, or your fur family, and just making it a way to kind of close out the day in a way that feels good, similar to the AM ritual. All right, so this is my idea of kind of like setting up a week for success. And I welcome your input. I welcome your feedback. What works for you? What have you found super duper helpful? And how do you like to make sure that you feel like you're living a full and meaningful life with tranquility during your week? Let me know in the comments section, which again, you can find the post at KimberlyWilson.com/530. So thank you as always for tuning in. Just a gentle reminder, we have a brand new book that we're reading. over in the TDJ Facebook Insiders group, and it is the pinned post, so we'd love to have you read along with us. And it's also, of course, a Women's History Month, so a big excitement for that and ways to honor and nurture ourselves and other women. And then also there are links in the show notes to my 6 books, my planner, which I'm referencing. That weekly guide is a layout of my planner. And I've been doing these since 2012. And thank you to everyone who has supported them over the years. And, I just have to say it really is important that you find something that works for you, even if it's just Post-it notes and pen, right? Where you're just kind of capturing what it is you want to accomplish, what it is you want to do, and kind of tracking that. It's kind of like the whole reason I have the Apple Watch is, track exercise, to track my steps, things along those lines. Because I was relying on my phone, which is really great, but, I don't carry my phone everywhere, whereas a watch is always on you. So some days my phone would say I got 60 steps, and I was like, that is just unacceptable. But then my watch, even those days where there's not much walking around, like outside, like I still get over 1,000 steps, and that's just kind of walking around a tiny house. So it's really helpful, I think, to be able to track and to know kind of what is happening. Again, if you have a moment to pen a review of this show and or to just let me know what you think, I would really appreciate it. And you can pen a review, of course, on Apple Podcasts or any of the other resources, and hit subscribe again to make sure that you don't miss an episode. And stay tuned. Next week, we're talking about managing menopause naturally. And I hope you will love the episode. And I hope this one was helpful too. Thanks for inviting me into your day. And wishing you a gorgeous week ahead. Namaste.